Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
Yeah, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to The Rundown. I am Mike Piwowarski, your co-host from the East Coast. That's the co-host with the most, from the coast with the most. Here on The Rundown, 2A Views, conservative news. Craig, how was your Thirsty Thursday?
It was phenomenal, but I admittedly I was a little lonely because my co-host was not with me.
Yeah, I got extended at work, couldn't get away. It was too noisy and too high of altitude to be doing a broadcast from. So, glad it went off well. I see the ratings went down. Oh, that's horrible. I wonder why. I don't know.
No, the ratings did not go down. But I will say most definitely, we were definitely missed. But we were thinking about you as you were flying the friendly skies.
Oh, how pleasant! How nice! What a lie. That's good. That's good. Yep.
We did kind of a prelude to what was going to be going on today. We talked a little bit about ahead of time. So, it was kind of funny because, let's just put it this way. He did not disappoint, which is kind of interesting because he usually disappoints. But I guess in this particular case, he did not disappoint in that we knew what he was going to be talking about.
That's right. He did not disappoint in disappointing. That's what he did.
That is actually a great way to put it. We knew he would disappoint, and he obliged us.
Exactly.
All right, but hey, before
we jump into it, Craig, though, let me introduce our sponsors.
Yes.
So we can make sure that we talk to them. Don't forget to reach out to our new good friends over there. Well, been good friends for a while, but new with the program. Our good friends at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. Hitmanindustries.net. If you've got an AR in the past 5 years or so, odds are you might even have one of their barrels already and not even know it. But now you don't have to wait to buy one in the package. You can get it on your own for your own build. So check them out, hitmanindustries.net. Of course, our good friends at the California Republican Assembly, fighting the good fight behind enemy lines. And if you want yourself some awesome combat tactical gear, go to uscombatgear.com.
As we tell you every program, the links to their websites are in the description of this program. So all you got to do is click on it, go there, check them out, and if you like what you see, spend some money with them. Let them know that the guys over at The Rundown sent you. Also, want to encourage you, however you are partaking, encourage your friends to do the same, or let them know that they can do it another way. So if you're watching us, let them know that you can find us wherever you find your podcasts. And if you're actually listening to the program, just let them know, hey, you can watch it on OpsLens or Spotify or YouTube or Twitter. There's tons of different ways to tune in. Just make sure you tune in.
Yeah, we say like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. We say it every day. So make sure you do it.
Yes, sir. And encourage your friends to do the same.
There you go.
Just saying.
That's
just saying. Not saying. Yeah. Just saying. Yeah. All right. Let's get into it, Mikey. We all knew that this was basically going to be a political speech. We knew that this speech would have nothing to do with. We knew that it would have absolutely nothing to do with an actual presence. Now, Mike, he brought this up and he talked about this. He talked about this particular speech was about a battle for the soul of America. And honestly, to a certain degree, I will agree with that, but I don't think the threat is who he thinks it is, or at least wants us to believe it is.
No, and like you said, we knew this was coming based on his talk last week about fascism, and we're all fascists. If we have any dissent at all in what his policies are, that makes us a fascist. So we knew that his handlers would get him at some point to come out and clean this up. Unfortunately, it took a bad turn for the worse for him in his speech there.
I definitely believe so. And so what was interesting about the imagery of this was it started off looking very official and presidential, like this is a government speech officially from the leader of our nation. And then it got kind of dark fast, didn't it?
And I know we got a little video of this. We'll take a look at it in a moment. Look how the background turns blood red. How the honored military standing there becomes the enforcers of his speech. How when he walks out, he comes from the darkness into the light. I mean, like we talked about earlier. This had the wrong music playing, Craig. There should have been another theme going on here.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, we'll talk about that. Check it out real quick, folks.
Look nice and bright, nice and pretty, right? It's going to be official.
Please welcome the President of the United States and Dr. Jill Biden.
Look at the red light. Enter the evil.
I am your president.
They come from the darkness into the light. And what are they on, a treadmill? How long is this path?
I don't know, but I'll bet you they had to make sure to clear it so he didn't trip.
And we're still walking, and we're walking. He's old. He's got to get his steps in. And we're walking, and we're walking, and we're walking.
All right, so first of all, the imagery was, okay, this is really official. This is a presidential, yada, yada, yada. And supposedly he is doing so because he is there to introduce and talk about an existential threat to our nation. And so here's the introduction of the threat.
But as I stand here tonight, equality and democracy are under assault. We do ourselves no favor to pretend otherwise. So tonight, I've come to this place where it all began to speak as plainly as I can to the nation about the threats we face.
This sounds like, Craig, this sounds like when Hitler became chancellor. I mean, it's you know, for those that could listen in German and know German, or, you know, let's hear the translated version, this sounds as though I'm here to take over. I'm here to do away with the rule of law. This is how this speech starts. And look at the blood red background and with the enforcers behind him. This is scary to think tonight. You know, that this is what he's doing. This is the imagery they're putting out there.
Oh yeah, no, you are 100% correct. And then he goes on to talk about who is the threat. By the way, when you think about he's talking about this threat, what comes up in your mind?
Oh, that we have to put down the rebels, these horrible rebels, you know, to save the empire. That's exactly the imagery going through my head. And I'm like, what are we doing here? You know.
Well, let's talk about who.
Maybe he should wear a mask he should wear a mask and a uniform to keep him alive too, because we know he's kind of getting close to the end, right?
Oh yeah.
But first, we must be honest with each other and with ourselves. Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
All right, so let's talk about that. He's talking about Republicans, right? And he's saying that we represent, first of all, he's saying that things aren't normal. And once again, I to a certain degree, I have to agree with him, because normal is, just because you are white, it does not mean that you are racist. Normal is that we actually have a southern border and we ought to protect that border. Normal is that there are boys and girls. And I mean, there are so many things that have become abnormal in just the last 5 years. But the abnormal is not what is being pushed by Republicans. In fact, simply saying that, hey, this stuff you guys are doing is not normal is what makes us extremists in their eyes.
Yeah, making America great again is not normal. Being a great country is not normal. That's what he's telling you. He said MAGA Republicans, those that want to see, the rule of law restored, that want to see, a thriving economy. They want to see freedoms from experimental drugs being forced upon you. That's the new normal for him.
Oh yeah, no. And what's interesting is that when you start to go and you start to listen to some of the things that he's talking about and things that he wants to do, it's I'm like, who is this guy talking about? Because when we start talking about, and by the way, this is about policy. And that's the point that I wanted to make was very much most of what he is talking about that he disagrees with are policy positions.
MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards to an America where there is no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love. They promote authoritarian leaders and they fan the flames of political violence.
Now, interesting that he talks about flaming the fans of political violence, yet not one word or not one mention during either his campaign or during his administration has ever been made of Antifa or Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, exactly right. And listen, what's he talking about? What bizarro land is he in? He's talking about moving back to or having no right to privacy. He's standing in front of Independence Hall, all right, where the Constitution was authored. The right to privacy is pretty clear in the First Amendment. Yet his administration is the one clamping down on the First Amendment. His administration is the one controlling the media. His administration is the one that we've heard just last week that the FBI coming into Facebook and telling them what to post and what not to post with disinformation. And then what is this right to contraceptive? Craig, have you heard anything about the right to contraceptives at all? Or, according to him, is abortion now contraceptive?
Well, probably. I think that's a big part of it. But the other issue is, Mike, is that and I think you hit the nail on the head when you started talking about the things that they want to blame Republicans for are the very same things that they're doing.
And here, in my view, is what is true. MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. They do not believe in the rule of law. They do not recognize the will of the people. They refuse to accept the results of a free election. And they're working right now, as I speak, in state after state, to give power to decide elections in America to partisans and cronies.
I'm sorry, is this not the same party that was actually trying to remove control of state elections out of their hands and put them in Washington, D.C., where, once again, where Democrats would be able to, and bureaucrats would be able to control elections, where they would be able to undermine elections by duly elected local officials, local representatives, people who were elected in states across this country. That is their goal. Talking about election deniers, Mike, yesterday I played video after video of Democrat who denied the 2016 election, right? I played Stacey Abrams, who denied that she lost in 2018. I am beside myself I'm like, it's like literally he is ignoring everything the Democrats do and have done and blaming Republicans for it.
Yeah, it's amazing. He's standing there talking about how refused to acknowledge the Constitution, yet here he is, trying to get us to ignore the 10th and 14th Amendments by taking the like you said, the rights of the states away from them and taking it back to central control. It's always been a Democrat policy to have strong central federal government as opposed to Republican policy of putting all the powers with the states that you can, and the feds just take all the other things up that are not inclusive to the states. It's ridiculous to watch him stand here and not even know the difference between what's constitutional and what is constitutional.
Well, Mike, and he goes on to talk about, he talks about, first of all, he points out that he tries to say that not all Republicans are MAGA Republicans. And I'm like, no, 74 million people in this country are MAGA, right? When I say MAGA, I mean they support the policies of President Donald Trump because guess what? They voted for President Donald Trump more than had ever voted for any Republican ever, right? And by the way, more people than voted for anyone other than Joe Biden, which, by the way, I still don't believe more people voted for Joe Biden than voted for Donald Trump. I believe that there were a lot of those people who were actually just voting against Donald Trump. And many of those were the anti-MAGA Republicans whatchamacallit that he was talking about. Now we're not talking election interference. We're not talking the takeaway or stealing of the election. At least I'm not talking about that. But I am saying that there are many people who don't support Joe Biden. But by the way, do support the policies that were consistent with what Republican Party stands for.
Yeah, don't forget to take away the couple million illegal votes that we know are out there
Yes.
from a couple of states, yours, that allows illegals to vote. He talks about the will of the people, and correct me if I'm wrong, Craig. The Tea Party
And
formed
here,
as
my
of.
view is-
Sorry, go ahead. We're doing a
No,
video?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Didn't mean to do that.
The Tea Party formed as the will of the people. That's what it was. It was the groundswell of support from individuals that created their own organization outside of the mainstream political parties, and the MAGA movement is the continuance of that. It is now the recognized leader, because remember, Tea Party didn't have had some great mid-level leaders out there, like Alan West being one of them that we know of, and this is the continuation of that. This was the nationalization of it, the will of the people, exactly what it is.
Well, and that's what this guy fails to understand, is that they believe that he says there are, quote unquote, far more. Matter of fact, I'll play that little segment real quick.
There are far more Americans from every background and belief who reject the extreme MAGA ideology than those that accept it.
Okay, so he's saying there's far more that accept it than reject it. But once again, we've already talked about what that is. It's election integrity. It's protecting our southern border. It's not instituting racism in our public schools and actually educating our children. It is providing local control for elections and for education, not a federal takeover. It's about allowing people to keep more of what they've earned as opposed to taking it, putting it into a government program so that your cronies can make money off of it, and then turning around and giving it to people who haven't earned it. It's saying that we have a southern border and that we ought to defend that southern border. It's saying that we ought to stand up and stand with our allies internationally, at the same time hold them accountable for their own national defense. It's saying that we need to put American jobs first. These are the extremist things that Donald Trump is saying MAGA is about. And he's calling those things extremist. And he's saying there's far more people. Once again, far more. Well, then Mr. President, here's what I would say to you. When your party gets their asses handed to them in this upcoming election, you need to accept that far more Americans believe you're full of shit than you think.
No, Craig, then we'll have a whole new batch of denier videos, right? Because they'll forget that part of their speech. They'll be the ones saying the election was rigged and the election was false. So that's what we'll get from them. And again, I just can't get over this guy standing in front of Constitutional Hall saying that, or excuse me, Independence Hall, where the Constitution was written, saying that it's the free will of the people. It's the MAGA people that are causing the demise of this country. Yet here he stands restricting the First Amendment, trying to take the Second Amendment away. In fact, our second story is about them taking away the Second Amendment after a constitutional decision. The Fourth Amendment, the 10th Amendment, the 14th, everything here that he's talking about is what they're doing in his White House.
Well, exactly. And by the way, that leads me to the response. And it's been interesting because I wanted to share this one, and I am not a Joy Reid fan. Matter of fact, I think she is the absolute positive antithesis of everything that America should be or is about. But she made one point in her readout blog, and it was interesting about it was first of all, she quotes and just goes on and on and on in this particular piece. First of all, in her the video that's here, we're not going to watch it, but in the video that's here, she's talking about the speech that Biden gave last week, which basically where he called Republicans fascists, right? And by the way, he goes out of his way to try and say, well, I'm not talking about Republicans, I'm talking about MAGA Republicans. I'm like, you mean the 74 million people who voted for Donald Trump? Yeah.
Yep.
She goes on to talk about how, yeah, no, he was right. But then she points out here at the very end of her piece, and I found, first of all, first of all, she goes out of her way to say, look, yes, he's tried to portray himself as a unifier of sorts, but that didn't mean placating people who want to destroy American democracy. Then she further goes on to say, and she said it can be summed up in 5 words, and that is, I said what I said. And that is the one point that I can 100% agree with her on. He pretty much said, I said what I said. I'm not going to turn around and call you a fascist. And the reason why you can't call him a fascist is because, keep in mind, Republicans are not in power. We don't control the legislative branch. We do not control the executive branch. They are the ones making and enforcing the laws. They are the ones that are working with, that are pressuring academia and are pressuring entertainment and the news media and big tech to push a propaganda platform and silence anyone who does not fall in line with their propaganda. Mike, that is fascism.
That's exactly what it is. The fascism is defined as, as laying the pressure upon to take, to set yourself above and to
Right.
and to single out specific peoples. Hitler did it with Jews. He's trying to do it with MAGA Republicans. He's clearly calling on it. This is not a Democrats are better than Republicans thing. He's telling you how evil they are and how they need to be eliminated.
Right. People want to act like fascism is a political ideology, and fascism is not a political ideology. It is a tactic, right? Authoritarianism is a tactic.
Yes.
And last I checked, you kind of got to be in charge in order to be an authoritarian. Believing that the people need to decide on abortion, on whether or not abortion should be legal or not, is not authoritarian. It's giving power to the people. Deciding that elections ought to be determined, or how elections are run ought to be determined by the states and their local counties and their representatives, that's not authoritarian. That is about as democratic as you can get, right?
It's the Constitution. It's the Constitution. Look at the 14th Amendment.
Right.
14th Amendment,
Stating that the law needs to be enforced. Let's see. How about immigration? How about property damage? How about, being selective in what laws you enforce and you don't? That is authoritarian. That's what this president is doing. That's what his attorney general is doing. Authoritarian is utilizing law enforcement to attack your political enemies. And that's exactly what this White House is doing. And that's exactly what everyone is pointing out in their response to President Biden.
You mean, Chancellor Biden? No, you're right. President Biden. I'm sorry. That's right.
Chancellor Biden.
Yeah.
Emperor Biden?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't have that authority yet.
Yeah. No, not yet. That's the next steps. Right?
One of the things that he brought up was that people are going to be, they're talking about how some Republicans have pointed out that, look, if President Trump is brought up on charges, that there will be protests and riots. Now, the president went out of his way to say, there'll be blood in the streets. I never heard any Republican say that there would be blood in the streets. The only person who I said that I know who said that was Joe Biden. But the point is, and what he fails to understand is, when he uses the FBI to go after his political enemies, when he uses the Department of Justice to go after political enemies, and that's exactly what he's doing. That's exactly how objective people looking at this see it. And I think many objective people, by the way, they're hoping, some of them are hoping, I hope there's more here than what we're seeing. I really do, because if there isn't, then this really has become a banana republic.
It really is. And he's trying to turn what exists now into, the anti-MAGA. I mean, he's the one, pushing towards the violent rhetoric here. I will watch on the news the past couple of days. One of the top stories continues to be the threats against federal law enforcement is off the scales because of what happened at Mar-a-Lago. No, I don't think so. I mean, are there nut jobs out there? Of course there are, but that's on both sides. Those are the fringes. But of course, that's where we go to. The major news story is, Johnny Jackass with 12 Twitter followers who says, "Let an FBI agent try and take that stuff from me." Okay, we get that. There's going to be those idiots out there. Why is the guy with 12 followers the top news story? Can we move on? The only thing you're trying to do is incite the violence against those that are pushing for freedoms.
Oh, no, dude. Most definitely, that is exactly what appears to be going. That's exactly what appears to be going on. And so, in the end, this speech is going to do more to divide the country than unite the country. And that is sad because he said he was going to be the great uniter. And I love how, once again, he talked about these quote unquote extremist things and these, but he can't really point to anything except, once again, Donald Trump and January 6th. And this just goes back to everything that we know. We know that the only thing they have going for them is there are a lot of people out there who don't like Donald Trump. Well, guess what? There are also a lot of people out there who don't like him, but also understand that he was good for this country and that his policies were good for this country. They may not like him personally, but I don't care if I like my president personally. Matter of fact, it was funny. I was listening to Joe Rogan or somebody. Yeah, Joe Rogan talked the other day. And he was talking about what a good president Obama was. And all you could hear was not one thing about policy. It was just that he was so well-spoken and a good representative and made us look good. Yeah. Everything was aesthetic. None of it had to do with the policies that he actually implemented. And that's what liberals think. And that's what anti-Trump Republicans think is important about the president. And my thing is, I would rather have a guy who the world hates, but who implements policies that benefit us and benefit our country and make us a stronger nation.
How short-sighted and how narrow are those people? Those people like Mitt Romney, those Liz Cheneys, those TDS people out there that are willing to give up the freedoms that we've worked for almost 250 years because bad man orange, bad tweets. Because I don't like them. I can't deal with that. We're willing to give up everything we have because they don't like the guy.
Exactamundo. I hear you. I hear you. Let's go ahead and let's move on. I've kind of had enough of talking about dude.
Before we go, I want to give a new title to this speech because this is how I see this speech.
Okay.
This speech, I think, shall forever be known as Execute Order 88.
Execute Order. Well, no, Execute Order 2022.
Right, but for those that
yes, I know, I remember 88.
This was the turning of he took the force. He's trying to take the forces out there and turn them against. This is the execution. This is Order 88. That's this whole speech says to me, Order 88.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I'm sorry. This is just this just beyond frustrates me. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, Mike, it looks like coming out of New York. Now, we already knew that in New York we knew that the laws that they had passed over there we knew they were unconstitutional. We knew that there were issues with them. But it looks like we have a federal judge who now agrees with us that these laws are in fact unconstitutional.
Yeah. Let me give you folks what just went into effect here yesterday in New York. The new laws. This is after, again, we had the Bruen case, right, where the Bruen case says that you must allow people to get these firearm permits as long as they're qualified. They don't have any disqualifying offenses like you'd see on a 4473. So can't be criminals, can't be drug addicts, can't be anything like that. Can't be deserters from the military, those kind of things. But New York's decided, well, it says we can have restrictions. So here's the restrictions they're putting in place. Let me pull them up here, Craig. So they're talking about New York City, right? You can't have a firearm. Any location owned or under the control of the federal, state, or local government for the purpose of government administration, including the courts. Any location providing health, behavioral health, chemical dependence care and services. So far, Craig, we got everything the government owns, okay? Which includes sidewalks, subways, bridges, tunnels, common areas, parks. Now let's include anything with medical, whether it's medical, psychological help, drug dependence help. Well, there's probably still plenty left, right? No more places of worship or religious observation. So churches out, synagogues out, mosques out. All right, well, maybe at the library, public playgrounds, public parks, zoos. Nope, that's out. Any place the New York State Office of Children and Family Service licensed or funded facilities, that's all daycare centers now, all gone. Any nursery schools, preschools, summer camps. The New York State Office for People with Developmental Disabilities licensed facilities. So any of those treatment centers, right? Office of Addiction Services, support licensed or funded facilities. Anything that has to do with recovery help. Office of Mental Health. All right, that's out. I mean, we're just specifying everywhere now. Temporary or disability assistance places that have, or the facilities that receive assistance from the state, any homeless shelters, family shelters, domestic violence shelters, Department of Health licensed or funded residential facilities, any college, university, private school, public school, or any other educational institute. Doesn't say whether it's state-owned or private-owned. So I guess if you got, like electronic tech school, come get your ASE certification. Those are out. All public transportation and transport facilities, all bars and restaurants that serve alcohol, whether or not you're in the bar or not, or whether or not you're drinking, and any on-premises cannabis consumption locations. All right. Theaters, stadiums, racetracks, museums. Craig, this just goes on and on and on forever. I mean, it goes down to specific. It says sidewalks, any sidewalk, okay? Any place where the gathering of people to collectively express their constitutional rights to assemble or protest. And then it says Times Square. And Times Square, Craig, is not just, as they define in this, a couple block area. It's over 40 square blocks in the center of Manhattan. Yep. There's no place left to carry a firearm in New York City. Now, and I want to give to you what Justice Thomas said in his ruling order here, opinion of the court, from the Bruen case 2 months ago, right? It says, put simply, because he saw this coming, there is no historical basis for New York to effectively declare the island of Manhattan a sensitive place, simply because it's crowded and protected generally by NYPD.
Right.
The New York State just passed a law that is wholly 100% unconstitutional.
Yep.
And they've gotten away with it. Now, the story we're talking about today, Craig, is this federal judge received a lawsuit from the Gun Owners of America, from GOA. Now, he dismissed, or he sent back the lawsuit because he determined that GOA did not have standing. Now, folks, what does that mean? They don't have standing? It means none of their members had been harmed yet. So none of them have gone and tried to carry a firearm in these places. None of them have asked and been told no, because the law didn't go into effect until yesterday. So they filed the lawsuit after the law was passed, but before it went into effect. So in the civilian court system, someone has to be damaged before you can find in their favor. And when this lawsuit was filed, no one had been damaged yet. This federal judge told them, you don't have standing yet. Go back, basically, wait a week or two, and refile.
Right, and you determining someone who is quote unquote has standing can sometimes be difficult, because in some cases, simply asking to be able to carry and being told no is not enough. Some cases someone may have to get arrested in order, and by the way, do time in jail in order to be able to have standing in some of these cases.
Yeah. And listen, I know you and I know the players in this. This may come down to that, and if it happens, it's going to be a law-abiding citizen who takes it out into one of these places and is probably standing there with multiple TV cameras to watch the violation occur and the unconstitutionality occur. This is going to be. Listen, the mayor and the governor there are talking about how it's going to be the Wild West on the streets with showdowns. They're going to get their showdown.
Well, they are, and it's not going to be what they expect it to be. But Mike, this is one more example. You had the president talking about not believing in the rule of law. Well, guess what? The Constitution says you have a right to keep and bear arms. The Supreme Court, by a 6-3 majority, has said that you have a right to bear arms, and that the policies that New York has implemented are unconstitutional. And now you have Democrats, a Democrat-controlled legislature and a Democrat governor put in place laws that directly contradict the Constitution as interpreted by this, not just the Constitution, as the actual language of the Constitution, the strict language, letter of the law, as well as the spirit of the law as defined as outlined by the Supreme Court. But yet Republicans are the MAGA Republicans are the ones who who don't believe in the rule of law.
Craig, here's a prediction for you. This is such a blatant, refusal to accept a Supreme Court decision, such a blatant, turning their back on the Constitution of the United States, that I think when this is finally decided, and it's not going to be long because this federal judge is going to grant this in the next couple of weeks, and then it's going to end up in appeals directly to the Supreme Court. I think you're going to see the mayor of New York and the governor of New York brought before the Supreme Court.
I hope so. I sincerely hope so. You know, Mike, that one of the things and the reason why they think they can get away with it is because they did get away with it with Heller. Now, with Heller, they took baby steps, right? They took these little itty bitty baby steps. Right now, they're not taking baby steps. They're taking a huge leap. They're coming right back to where they were, not just right back to where they were before. They're looking to go beyond that. But the difference is the Supreme Court now is not the Supreme Court post Heller. The Supreme Court now is a Supreme Court that's like that made it very clear what was constitutional and what is not, and what is acceptable and what is not. And right now you have elected officials in New York who are thumbing their nose at the Supreme Court. And if they are to have any authority, they're going to need to slap these folks down.
Yeah, for those of you that are sitting out there thinking, oh, I don't like Trump, or I'm a Republican that doesn't like Trump, or that Trump didn't do anything for the Second Amendment. Listen, the people he put on the court are the only thing right now standing between you and absolute 100% tyranny. That's all that's holding back right now is the Supreme Court. And Donald Trump put them there.
Yes, absolutely, positively, no doubt. In fact, I know many who are right of center, who had no other reason to vote for Donald Trump other than Supreme Court nominations. And he has more than held his own and kept his promise when it comes to Supreme Court nominations. And we can see now that is making the difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely right.
Let's go ahead and move on to our parting shots. This first one, and it really kind of falls in line with a lot of what we've been talking about, because we are told that we are extremists because we believe in certain things. In particular, because we're pointing out certain things about this particular president. All right, this is a meme. It's got a picture of President Biden and says, pointing out Biden's ignorance, incompetence, and corruption, or the jackbooted thuggery of weaponized governmental agencies that attack their political opponents doesn't mean I am a Trumpanzee, Trumpian, Trumpy, Trumptard, or even a Trump supporter at all. It just means I have the capacity to grasp the obvious. And there are many who are not Trump Republicans, who are not even Republicans, who are Democrats or liberals or libertarians or independents, who recognize that either one or more of those things that are pointed out in that meme happen to be true.
Yeah, listen, this guy couldn't grasp a spoon for his own pudding, let alone these feelings wholeheartedly. So,
well, just which by the way leads me to our second meme.
Yep. Yep.
This is Joe Biden.
Push the button.
Yeah, it's a silhouette of Joe Biden, and all you can see is a bright yellow check engine light on. And that is, by the way, where many people, Republican or Democrat, no matter where you stand, many people throughout the world recognize that this president is, he is not all there. And I believe this even to the point of, he didn't write that speech yesterday. You know someone wrote it for him. And you know that they don't, you know that he did the best he could to read the entire speech. And I don't know what they gave him a jab of, but they gave him what did the president say? Gave him a shot in the ass and sent him out there.
Absolutely right.
Oh. Anyway, sir, it's about that time, sir. Let's give one more shout out to our sponsors.
Yep. Like sure you check out our good sponsors here, Hitman Industries. Go to hitmanindustries.net, hitmanindustries.net. Get yourself a barrel for your firearm. And let's see, of course, we're going to go to the California Republican Assembly. Always fighting a good fight there. And if you want some awesome combat gear, some tactical gear, go to uscombatgear.com.
That's right. Once again, links to their websites are in the description of this program. Please go visit. Tell them that the guys over at the Rundown sent you. And with that, we're going to call it a week. It has been quite a week. Hope you enjoy the weekend. Go out. Hope you get a chance to send a few down range. Hope you get a chance to turn up a few and enjoy some time with friends and family. And I guess we'll see you on Monday.